Story Quest. Today, I will be reading Little Woman, Chapter 23, Part 1. Like bees swarming after their queen, mother and daughters hovered about Mr. March the next day, neglecting everything to look at, wait upon, and listen to the new invalid. It was in a fair way to be killed by kindness, as he sat propped up in a big chair by Beth's sofa, with the other three close by, and Anna popping in her head now and then to peek at the dear man. Nothing seemed needed to complete their happiness, but something was needed, and the elder ones felt it, though none confessed. The fact Mr. and Mrs. March looked at one another with an anxious expression as their eyes followed Meg. Jo had sudden fits of sobriety and was seen to shake her fist at Mr. Brooks' umbrella, which had been left in the hall. Meg was absent-minded, shy, and silent started when the bell rang, and when John's name was mentioned, Amy said everyone seemed waiting for something and could have settled down, which was weird since father was safe at home, and Beth innocently wondered why their neighbors didn't run over as usual. Laurie went by in the afternoon and seeing Meg at the window seemed suddenly possessed with melodramatic fit, for he fell down on one knee in the snow, beat his breast, tore his hair, and clasped his hand importantly, as if begging. And when Meg told him to behave himself and go away, he wrung imaginary tears out of his handkerchief and staggered around the corner as if in utter despair. "What does that goose mean?" said Meg, laughing and trying to look unconscious. "He's showing you how John will go by and by. Touching, isn't it?" answered Jo scornfully. "Don't say my John. It isn't proper or true," but Meg's voice lingered over the words as if they sounded pleasant to her. "Please don't plague me, Jo. I've told you I don't care much about him, and there isn't to be anything said, but we are all to be friendly and go on as before. We can't, for something has been said, and Laurie's mischief has spoiled you for me, and I see it, and so does Mother. You are not like your old self a bit, and see, ever so far away from me. I don't mean to plague you, and will bear it like a man, but I do wish it was all settled. I hate to wait, so if you mean ever to do it, make haste and have it over quickly," said Jo pettishly. "I can't say anything till he speaks, and he won't, because father said I was too young," began Meg, bending over her work with a weird little smile, which suggested that she didn't quite agree with father on that point. "If he did speak, you wouldn't know what to say, but would cry or blush, or let him have his own way, instead of giving good decided no. I'm not so silly and weak as you think. I know just what I should say, for I've planned it all, so I needn't be taken unawares. There's no knowing what may happen, and I wish to be prepared." Jo couldn't help smiling at the important air which Meg had unconsciously assumed. which was becoming as the pretty color varying in her cheeks. Wouldn't you mind telling me what you say? Asked Joe more respectfully. Not at all. You're 16 now, quite old enough to be my confidant, and my experience will be useful to you by and by, perhaps, in your own affairs of this sort. Don't mean to have any. It's fun to watch other people flounder, but I should feel like a fool doing it myself, said Joe, looking alarmed at the thought. I think not. If you like anyone very much and he liked you, Meg spoke as if to herself and glanced out at the lane where she had often seen lovers walking together in the summer twilight. I thought you were going to tell your speech to that man, said Joe, rudely shortening her sister's little reverie. Oh, I should merely say, quite calmly and decidedly, thank you, Mr. Brooke. You are very kind, but I agree with Father that I am too young to enter into any engagement at present. So please say no more, but let us be friends, as we were. That's stiff and cool enough. I don't believe you'll ever say it, and I know you won't be satisfied. If you do, if he goes on the rejected lovers in books, you'll give in rather than hurt his feelings. No, I won't. I shall tell him I've made up my mind and shall walk out of the room with dignity. Meg rose as she spoke and was going to rehearse the dignified exit when a step in the hall made her fly into her seat and began to sew as fast as her life depended on finishing that particular scene in a given time. Joe smothered a laugh at the sudden tap, and when someone gave a modest tap, opened the door with a grim aspect, which wasn't anything but hospitable. Good afternoon. I came to get my umbrella. That is to see how your father finds himself today, said Mr. Brooke, getting a trifle confused as his eyes went from one tattletale face to the other. It's very well. He's in the rack. I'll get him until you are here. And having jumbled her father and the umbrella balled together in her reply, Joe slipped out of the room to give Meg a chance to make her speech and air her dignity. But the instant she vanished, Meg began to sidle toward the door, murmuring, Mother would like to see you. Pray sit down. I'll call her. Don't go. Are you afraid of me, Margaret? And Mr. Brooke looked so hurt that Meg thought she must have done something very rude. She blushed up to the little curls on her forehead, for she had never called her Margaret before, and she was surprised to find how natural and sweet it seemed to hear from him. Anxious to appear friendly and at her ease, she put out her hand with a confiding gesture and said gratefully, How can I be afraid when you've been so kind to Father? I only wish I could thank you for it. Shall I tell you how? Asked Mr. Brooke, holding the small hand fast in both of his own and looking down at Meg with so much love in the brown eyes that her heart began to flutter as she both longed to run away and to stop and listen. Oh no, please don't, I'd rather not, she said, trying to withdraw her hand and looking frightened in spite of her denial. I won't trouble you. Only want to know if you care for me a little, Meg. I love you so much, dear, said Mr. Brooke tenderly. This was the moment for the calm, proper speech, but Meg didn't make it. She forgot word of it, hung her head and answered, I don't know, so softly that John had to stoop down to catch the foolish little reply. He seemed to think it was worth for trouble, for he smiled to himself as if quite satisfied, pressed the plump hand gratefully, and said in his most persuasive tone, Will you try and find out? I want to know so much, for I can't go to work with any arts until I learn whether I am to have my reward in the end or not. I'm too young, faltered Meg, wondering why she was so fluttered, yet rather enjoying it. I'll wait, and in the meantime, you could be learning to like me. Would it be a very hard lesson, dear? Not if I choose to learn it, but please choose to learn, Meg. I love to teach, and this is easier than German, broke in John, getting possession of the other hand, so she had no way of hiding her face. As he bent to look into it, his tone was properly beseeching, but stealing a shy look at him, Meg saw that his eyes were merry, as well as tender, and that he wore the satisfied smile of one who had no doubt of his success. This nettled her, and Movette's foolish lessons came into her mind, and the love of power, which leaps in the bosoms of the best of little women, woke up all of a sudden and took possession of her, and she felt excited and strange, and not knowing what else to do, following that impulse and withdrawing her hands, and perpetually, I don't choose. Please go away and let me be. Poor Mr. Brooke looked as if his lovely castle in the air was tumbling about his ears, for he had never seen Meg in such a mood before, and it rather bewildered him. Do you really mean that? He asked anxiously, following her as she walked away. Yes, I do. I don't want to be worried about such things. Father says I needn't. It's too soon and I'd rather not. Mayn't I hope you change your mind by and by? I'll wait and say nothing till you had more time. Don't play with me, Meg. I don't think that of you. Don't think of me at all. I'd rather you wouldn't, said Meg, taking a naughty satisfaction and trying her lover's patience in her own power. He was grave and pale now, and looked decidedly more like a novel hero whom she admired, but he never slapped his forehead nor dreamed about the room as I did. He just stood looking at her wistfully, so tenderly that he found her heart relenting in spite of herself. What would have happened next I cannot say. If Aunt March had not come hobbling in at this interesting moment, the old lady couldn't resist her longing to see her nephew, for she had met Laurie as she took her hearing of Mr. March's arrival, drove straight out to see him. The family were all busy in the back part of the house, and she made her way quickly in, hoping to surprise them. She did surprise two of them so much that Meg started, as if she had seen a ghost, and Mr. Brooke vanished into the study. Bless me, what's all this? Cried the old lady, with a rap of her cane, as she glanced from the pale young gentleman to the scarlet young lady. It's father's friend. I'm so surprised to see you, stammered Meg, feeling that she was in for a lecture now. That's evident, returned Aunt Madge, sitting down. But what is father's friend saying to make you look like a peony? There's mischief going on, and I insist upon knowing what it is, with another rap We're only talking. Mr. Brooke came for his umbrella, began Miss Meg, wishing that Mr. Brooke and the umbrella were safely out of the house. Brooke, that boy's tutor. Ah, I understand now. I know all about it. Joe blundered into a wrong message in one of your father's letters, and I made her tell me you haven't gone and accepted him. Child cried on March, looking scandalized. Hush, he'll hear. Shan't I call mother? Said Meg, much troubled. Not yet. I have something to say to you, and I must free my mind at once. Tell me, do you mean to marry this cook? If you do, not one penny of my money ever goes to you. Remember that, and be a sensible girl, said the old lady impressively. Now Aunt March possessed in perfection the art of rousing the spirit of opposition in the gentlest people, and enjoyed doing it. The best of us have a spice of perversity in us, especially when we are young and in love. If Aunt March had begged Meg to accept John Brooke, she would probably have declared she couldn't think of it, but as she was peremptorily ordering not to like him, she immediately made up her mind that she would. Inclination, as well as perversity, made the decision easy, and being already much excited, Meg opposed the old lady with unusual spirit. I shall marry whom I please on March, and you can leave your money to anyone you like, she said, nodding with her head with a resolution air. Righty-tighty, is that the way you take my advice, miss? You'll be sorry for it by and by, when you've tried love in a cottage and found it a failure. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and comment down below. And if you have not done so already, please subscribe and hit that bell notification for future videos. And please check out my second channel and my podcast called Viva Quest. Links are in the description box below.